In this video, we are going to talk about everything you need to know about Sudan. So before starting, please like this video and subscribe to this channel for our future updates. Sudan is a landlocked country in East Central Africa with Khartoum as its capital city. It is a member of the African Union. To the north, the country shares borders with Egypt. To the east, it shares borders with Eritrea and Ethiopia. To the southwest, it shares borders with the Central African Republic, CAR, it shares borders with South Sudan, it shares borders with Chad, and it shares borders with Libya to the northwest. Before the country's separation from South Sudan in 2011, Sudan was the largest country in Africa and the Arab world, with a population of over 50 million people. The population of the country is expected to be 42,256,346 people, 2019. History. In the period from 1899 and 1956, the country was known as the Anglo-Egyptian Sudan, but it gained its independence in January 1956 after the United Kingdom and Egypt signed an agreement providing for the freedom of the Sudanese people and their right to self-determination. Sudan has been a participant in 2 civil wars since gaining independence in 1956. The first period covered the years 1955 to 1972, during which the Sudanese government fought the Enyanya rebel army. The Second Sudanese Civil War began in 1983, when the Sudan People's Liberation Army/Movement, SPLA/M, declared a state of emergency. Government. A sovereign state with its own government. President Omar Hassan Ahmad al-Bashir has held the position since 1989. In addition to the president, the country provides for 2 vice presidents. Among the vice presidents are Bakri Hassan Saleh as the first vice president and Hassabu Mohammed Abdalrahman as the second vice president. Both positions were filled in 2013. Sudan is divided administratively into 17 states, each of which is administered by an elected governor. These include the cities of Khartoum, Jazeera, North Kordofan, and South Darfur, among others. Foreign relations. In the beginning, President Omar al-Bashir declared that dual citizenship between his country and South Sudan would be permitted, but he later withdrew his promise when the country gained independence. It is difficult to understand the complicated nature of the country's relations with South Sudan. A member of the United Nations (UN), the Arab League (AL), and the African Union (AU), the country is a member of the United Nations (UN, AU). Climate. The climate has a rainy season with high humidity and a drier season, similar to equatorial climates. Most rain falls from May to October. Education. The main language used is English, as opposed to Arabic. There is a shortage of English-speaking teachers in the country. Indigenous languages. Over 60 languages are spoken, the majority of which are categorized as Nilo-Saharan. In adjacent nations, some of the languages are spoken. Nuer and Dinka are the most widely spoken languages. There are also a large number of speakers in Bari and Zonda. Religion. The majority of the population is made up of Sunni Muslims, with a small number of Christian followers. Culture. Due to the large number of citizens fleeing the country throughout the civil wars, Sudanese culture has been greatly influenced by its neighbors. There is a strong emphasis on understanding one's dialect and background. Games and sports. Traditional Sudanese sports such as wrestling and mock wars are popular. These were primarily commemorated during harvest seasons. Basketball, like football, is one of the most popular modern sports. There is no Olympic association in the country. Economy. Agriculture and livestock, in addition to oil, are critical to Sudan's economic diversification and could help to maintain medium-term macroeconomic stability. These industries currently contribute about 35% to 40% of GDP, but with increased investment and better governance, they might contribute substantially more. Sudan's Interim Poverty Reduction Strategy Paper, IPRSP, and the 5-year program for economic reforms passed by its parliament in December 2014 emphasized the need for more attention to agriculture and livestock. Sudan is still a heavily indebted country with significant external debt, and it has been in non-accrual status with the World Bank Group, WBG, since 1994. In nominal terms, its external debt was $50 billion, 61% of GDP, at the end of 2015, with around 84% of it in arrears. Transportation. The country railway is 248 kilometers from the Sudanese border to the Wau terminus. There are proposed extensions to Juba and into the networks of other neighboring countries. Health. Sudan has some of the lowest health metrics in the world. The rate of infant mortality is 52.86 deaths per 1,000 live births. Males have a life expectancy of 61.27 years and females have a life expectancy of 65.46 years. Here are the 10 interesting facts about South Sudan. So let's start. Number 10. South Sudan has been occupied by its ancient peoples since the 10th century. After the collapse of Nubia in the 11th century, the Nilotic people of Africa moved to what is now South Sudan and settled. With time, they were able to settle in their current sites. Bari and Akoli from Equatoria, Dinka, Enuak, Shilluk, and Nuer from Bahr el Ghazal and the Upper Nile regions. Number 9. It started as the colony of Equatoria. To the south of the country, in 1870, a British adventurer named Samuel Baker built a colony. It remained independent after the Juba Conference until 1948, when it was unified with Sudan. As history repeats again, South Sudan formally re-separated from Sudan in 2011. Number 8. Its colorful flag bears deep meaning. An encircling blue triangle with a golden star is the South Sudanese flag. The black represents South Sudan's people, while the red represents the country's struggle for independence. Green represents the country's fertile fields. The blue triangle represents the Nile, while the golden star signifies South Sudan's states. Number 7. South Sudan's official language is English. South Sudan's colonial history has influenced them so much that English is their official language. Christian missionaries converted most of the population, allowing the language to spread widely. While English is the primary language, the country also speaks 60 Nilo-Saharan dialects. Number 6. Christianity is the country's major religion. As previously stated, missionaries helped spread Christianity throughout South Sudan, resulting in a majority Christian population. According to the Pew Research Center, approximately 61% of the population is Catholic, Episcopal, or Presbyterian. Approximately 33% of the population practices traditional African religions, with over 6% practicing Islam. Number 5. It is one of the most biodiverse areas on the planet. The Banding Ilo National Park in South Sudan is the world's second-largest location for wildlife migration. Among the species found here are giraffes, elephants, bison, hartebeests, and kopis. The South Sudanese woodlands, on the other hand, are home to giant forest hogs, bongos, Red River hogs, chimpanzees, and forest monkeys. Situated in the heart of Africa's greatest wetland, the Sud, and stretching east of the White Nile all the way to Ethiopia, South Sudan provides something for everyone. Every year, nearly 1.2 million antelopes and gazelles traverse this huge ecosystem, which is the size of Hungary at 95,000 square kilometers. When the megaherds cross the plains, they leave scars visible for miles. The migration is only surpassed in size and scope by the famous wildebeest crossings in the Mara and Serengeti in August. South Sudan, on the other hand, has resilient populations of lions, elephants, and other rare creatures that have weathered decades of war and poaching near extinction. The previous wildlife minister Alfred Akwak Omoli claimed that there are still wild creatures in South Sudan. Other countries may be jealous of our creatures. Although this natural treasure is constantly threatened, attempts at animal conservation might be challenging and risky due to environmental hazards. Number 4. Oil plays a huge role in the South Sudanese economy. South Sudan's oil fields, which have Africa's third-largest oil reserve, have played an important part in the country's economic development. It has 4 times the oil as Sudan, generating up to $8 billion annually. Disagreements with Sudan caused South Sudan to cease oil production in 2012. As a result of the loss of potential revenue, food prices increased by up to 120%. But that will soon change, as the country still has plenty of appropriate oil-producing regions. Due to the high rate of interest, China has chosen to invest in its oil reserves. Number 3. It finally gained independence in 2011. South Sudan's secession took a long time to come. When Sudan gained independence from the UK in 1956, Southerners expected to be free to vote. The Arab Khartoum system, however, denied them this chance. Mutiny broke out from 1955 to 1972, and again from 1983 until 2005. The CPA was drafted to put out the fire. It gave South Sudan 6 years of autonomy. The country gained independence from Sudan in January 2011, after a referendum in which over 98% of the population voted yes. South Sudan became the 54th sovereign nation in Africa, and the youngest member of the UN system ever as a result of this event. Number 2. South Sudan has been involved in civil war since 2013. After gaining independence, the country was immersed in a 2-year civil war. When President Salva Kiir Mayardit, his deputy, Riek Machar Teni Durgan, and 10 others were imprisoned, it was blamed on a botched coup d'état. Durgan escaped to the defense of the Sudan People's Liberation Movement, which had established in opposition to the original SPLM and ended up fighting it. This turn of events contributed to the start of the conflict. Number 1. South Sudan has some of the worst indices when it comes to health. A result of poverty and ongoing violence, South Sudan's health indices are among the poorest in the world. The country loses 153 children every 1,000 and 2,054 mothers per 100,000 due to complications during childbirth. Many blame the country's weak healthcare system for the low rates. According to the current medical data, the country has only 3 surgeons and 3 operating hospitals. In rural communities with limited access to medical care, a doctor per 500,000 inhabitants is standard. What do you think of our video? Let me know in the comments section below. If you enjoy this video and want to hear from me again, be sure to hit that subscribe button before you go. Thanks for watching.